Okay, which screen are you seeing? Are you seeing the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, Mataji.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we'll continue with the prayer. नमः ओम विष्णु पादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन इति नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्दे हम श्री गुरु श्री युतपद कमलं श्री गुरु वैष्णवं च श्री रूपं सागर जातं सह गण रघुनाथन्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादन सह गण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च श्री कृष्ण प्रणाम मंत्र हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. So, dear devotees, today we are going to go and continue with our chapter 1 study. I hope we must finish it. I lost a few minutes because of inability to go to YouTube live. That's okay. So these were the level 2. Yesterday, I think I told you that there will be quiz and assignments, but I was informed that there's going to be only quiz. There isn't going to be any written assignments. I think the class is being recorded. Yes, it is recorded. It's getting recorded, Mataji. I'm recording the class. I will put it on the YouTube channel. I'll just find out what's the mistake. So these were the different pledges we made yesterday. And we went through the Mahabharata, this basic background. We understood some of these characters. And yesterday we also understood the 3 divisions of yoga, and from where Srila Prabhupada has, from which are the commentaries that he has been studying, and from where he has given us all the purports, because it is always in Guru Parampara. And we are also understood the different verses. We completed from 1.1 to 1.18 yesterday, which is basically introduction and preparation for the war. So what we saw is that, like in 1.1, we saw what the Dhritarashtra was speaking. We saw how it's from 1.1 to 1.13. It's all about one side of the battlefield. The whole focus is on the Kaurava side. So when Sanjaya starts speaking, he starts telling, he starts explaining to the Dhritarashtra about what is the condition, what are the things happening on the Kaurava side, because Duryodhana was the first one who started walking towards his master and towards his guru Dronacharya. And then, he speaks those words of insult by reminding him of his enemy and his enemy's son who was born to kill him. And instead of saying the name of the enemy's son, just to poke him, he says the word Drupada Putrena. We saw that yesterday. And then we saw how Duryodhana had, he after speaking to Dronacharya, he appraises the Pandava side very smartly. He first tries to analyze the Pandava army, and then he compares with his army, and then he uses Bhima and Bhishma comparison, saying that Bhima is nowhere, anywhere to be compared to Bhishma. And he's he's bragging. And I explained how bragging is a clear sign of insecurity. And we also understood that he's actually very envious of Bhima, because he knows that Bhima has taken the pledge to kill every Kaurava, and he knew that Bhima is the only person who will be able to kill him as well. So with all this insecurity and bragging and so much of lust and basically Rajogun filled Duryodhana, when he starts, talking about Bhishma, he's suddenly feeling like he wants everyone to protect Bhishma. He wants to make Bhishma feel that, you are valued. And so he goes and tells everybody, come on, I want all of you to protect Bhishma. And then Bhishma, realizing and feeling pity, feeling kind of sympathy for this Duryodhana, his nephew, who is, going through all these big mixture of emotions. And just to give him joy, just to give him some, respite from this big flood of emotions that Duryodhana is going through, he blows the conch shell. Followed by everyone in the Kaurava side, they are all blowing the conch shell. So actually the entire 1.1 to 1.13, it talks about Duryodhana's side, what he is doing, until the point where Bhishma is blowing the conch shell. We come to know in this section. Then from 1.14 to 1.19, we move on to the other side of the battlefield, where we find Krishna and Arjuna. As soon as Bhishma blows his conch shell and the whole Kaurava army, they all have their drums and all those so many instruments. Krishna and Arjuna thereafter, so we shift, the scene shifts to the Pandava side. They blow their transcendental conch shells. And within this 14 to 19, we see about how, as soon as he blows the conch shells, the entire Dhritarashtra's sons' hearts start trembling. Their hearts are shattered. And then we discussed yesterday how somebody who is in doing some adharma, in his heart of hearts, he knows, he knows that he is doing adharma. That is why the hearts are trembling. Also, Pandavas are not at all feeling afraid because of Krishna on their side. When Krishna is on your side, there is nothing to fear. So we were at 1.19. Today we will do 1.20 to 27, where Arjuna is going to request Krishna to draw his chariot between the two armies so that he can observe the Kurus, and Arjuna is going to see all his well-wishers. And then we will move on to section B, which is basically from 28 to 46, where we discuss all Arjuna's doubts. We will understand all of Arjuna's the doubts that he has as to why he doesn't want to fight. So that's what we will see in section B. So we have gone through this verse 1. We have gone through all the points about the Dhritarashtra's fears. We have seen Duryodhana approaching Dronacharya, and we have understood these technical terms which show how organized their battle, the army was. Then we looked at the people on the Duryodhana on the Pandava side first. Then from 7 to 9, we looked at the army of the Kaurava side, and then Duryodhana bragging. And then we have the tumultuous sounds of conch shells and drums and bugles and trumpets, followed by transcendental conch shells of Arjuna and Krishna. Krishna here is referred to as Madhava. So that is another sign of fortune, because Madhava is actually referring to Krishna as being the husband of goddess of fortune. So wherever Krishna is, his wife is certainly there. So auspiciousness and victory are therefore definitely on the side of the Pandavas. And then all the different names of the conch shells also. Every single thing related to Krishna is absolute, and so it is. Nothing is unimportant. It's not that the conch shell blowing is unimportant or names of so many warriors is unimportant. Nothing is unimportant because they are all related to Krishna, and Krishna is absolute. So these are the different names which we will be going through as we read the Bhagavad Gita. It's good to know the meanings of all these names. For example, Krishna means Akarshaya iti Krishna. So it is, Krishna is the one who attracts everyone, all this, and he is a master of senses. Rishikesha is my favorite word for Krishna. He controls, everybody's senses. So he's a master of everyone's senses. Madhava is, like I just said, husband of Lakshmi Devi. Achyuta is another beautiful one which we will come across in today's class. We will discuss a little more about Achyuta, which means infallible one. And Madhusudana is the killer of the demon Madhu. Govinda is one who gives pleasure to senses as well as cows. And Vasudeva from the son of Vasudeva, Devaki Nandana, son of Devaki, Yashoda Nandana, son of Yashoda. So it's true, some people say, that the Lord has no name particularly. But actually the Lord has so many names because of his different qualities, because of his pastimes. He has so many names. And the chief name among all of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's name is, of course, Krishna. Krishna is his most important, his chief name by which he, likes to be called as well. Although all these names are important and beautiful because they all remind us of some Leela or some about his Rupa or his, or his description of his paraphernalia, something or the other, which is so beautiful. Keshava is the killer of demon Keshi. Janardana is the maintainer of all living entities or killer of all living entities, both Janardana. And then we have Arjuna, who's called Dhananjaya. He's the conqueror of wealth. Partha, because he's the son of Pritha, because his mother, Kunti Devi, has another name, Pritha. So Partha means son of Pritha. Gudakesha is one who conquers sleep. Again, we will come across this. Vrikodara, we already came across just a few verses ago when we were talking about the conch shells, where the conch shells of Bhima, he was referred to as Vrikodara. And so Bhima, he was referred to as Vrikodara. just to show how mighty he is and how a voracious eater he is. He can perform Herculean tasks. Please pause and let me know if I'm audible and if it's going fine, or am I just, is everything fine? Hare Krishna.
All good, Mataji.
Audible, Rajalakshmi Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. All good, Mataji.
Ah, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
So now we are going to go to verse number 19 till 18 we had done yesterday. And 19 also I had touched upon yesterday, where we spoke about when Duryodhana's team, right? When Duryodhana's team, that is the Kauravas, when they blew all their conches and all those drums and those things, it didn't shatter the Pandavas' hearts because they had complete confidence in Lord Krishna. And once you take the shelter of the Lord, there is nothing to fear at all. You become absolutely fearless. In fact, whenever a little bit of fear or anxiety comes in your mind, you can be sure that this moment I'm not in Krishna consciousness. Because if you're in Krishna consciousness, you will certainly be in Ananda or bliss, or you will be in Vaikuntha. Because that's what this Krishna consciousness is not about waiting for you to die, and in the last minute when you die, you remember Krishna because you've practiced remembering him, and then you go to the Vaikuntha, or you go to Golok. It's not like that. It is that as you become Krishna conscious, you're already in Vaikuntha. You're already liberated because you already have achieved a state of mind where you have no anxiety, because you simply know that Krishna is in control. He is in control of everything. Every material energy, spiritual energy, everything, is basically him. It is his energies, his inferior energies, his superior energies. So when you take shelter of the Lord, there is nothing to fear. Whereas it was not mentioned anything earlier, but now when the Pandavas, when they blew their conches, in verse 1.19, it is clearly mentioned about how the Kauravas' hearts were shattered due to the signs of defeat. So verse 1.19, which is a word which tells us that, if you look at verse 1.19, we have Saghoshodhadra Rashtranam Hridayani Vyadarayat. So Hridayani Vyadarayat. That is the word which tells us how it was disturbing their mind. Nabhasya Prithivin Chaiva Tumulo Vyanunadayan. That was 1.19. So now let's go to 1.20. So in verse 1.20, let's look at the verse. Let me quickly read the verse for you. It says, Atha vyavasthitan drishtva dhardharashtran kapidhvajaha. Here there's a mention of kapidhvajaha. So there is Arjuna's chariot is having the Hanuman on his flag. So this shows, that how Arjuna has accepted Hanuman on his flag. Devotees and Vaishnavas are like that. They always take the shelter of other devotees. They always take the shelter. And Hanuman is a great devotee. And he, along with Rama, had won the battle in Ramayana. When the Ramayana, the war between Ravan and Ram had happened, it was Hanuman teamed up with Lord Rama. So now once more, Arjuna has Krishna, who is same as Rama, teamed up with Hanuman, in the form of sitting in his flag, who are teamed up together, once more making sure that Arjuna is going to win. So although Lord Krishna himself is personally present there as Rishikesha to direct Arjuna's senses, he also has Hanuman there. So with both Hanuman and Rama or Krishna, both are same, Arjuna's victory becomes absolutely sure. So that was in verse 1.20. So what he does is, he takes Pravritte Shastra Sampate Dhanuradyamya Pandavaha. He picks up his bow and he looks at the sons of Dhritarashtra, and then he speaks. That's what this line says. Rishikeshan tada vakyam idamaha mahipate. So these are the words that he starts speaking. So here you can see once more Rishikeshan in verse 1.20. Those of you who have, actually the verse is not put in the slide. Maybe next time I'll add the verses there. In verse 1.20, if you open your Bhagavad Gita, you can see Rishikesham is once more, Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha. It was earlier also in verse 1.15, Rishikesha was referred when Krishna was blowing his conch shell, the Panchajanya. At that time, the same word Rishikesha was used to refer to Krishna, meaning to say the controller of all the senses. Once more over here, when Arjuna is just going to speak, and here, he's speaking about, we're discussing what is on the chariot, The Kapidvaja is there, Rishikesha is there, Krishna is there. And Rishikesha, yesterday I wanted to say this verse, but I was not able to recollect it, though I usually say it quite often. I like this beautiful verse which comes from Chaitanya Charitamrit, Mathalila, 19.1. Yes, Mamta Mataji? Did you say, the voice is not very loud. I'm not able to hear you. What did you say, Mataji? I'm so sorry, I didn't hear that. So the small verse which comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I like, which refers to Rishikesha, is Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. And Srila Prabhupada refers to this, quite often. He says that Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. It means when you engage your senses in the service of Krishna, who is Rishikesha, your own senses, Rishikesha, Rishikena, in the service Sevanam, in the service of Krishna, when you engage your senses, that is bhakti. So this is a simple definition. It's a beautiful definition of bhakti. So when we come across the word Rishikesha, we are reminded of this beautiful verse. And Arjuna is a great bhakta, right? That is, and that is why Krishna, he says, he tells Arjuna, because you are my bhakt, because you are my devotee, and you are my dear friend, that's why I'm going to be revealing this rahasya or this knowledge to you. So the whole conversation actually, the entire Bhagavad Gita, the entire conversation is actually bhakti. So next, let's look at, so that is that's a reference of Rishikesha, which comes in verse 1.20. And then so as we can see, Arjuna's victory is sure. So let's move on to 1.21. Before that, here in this slide, we can study the signs of victory of the Pandavas. This is Krishna's personal presence is there. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is a charioteer. Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yesham. Krishna is Rishikesha, so he's controlling everybody's senses. Lakshmi is there, I already said that. Venu is another reason. Kurukshetra is a Dharma Kshetra. So it has a effect of a holy place on the war where Dharma will certainly win. Hanuman being on Arjuna's flag. The symbol of Vishnu. The conch shell is a symbol of Vishnu. And this is indirectly indicated by Bhishma and Pandava's conch shells. Krishna and Arjuna's conch shell is mainly transcendental. So that is a sign of victory for Arjuna. Bhishma's conch shell is basically to pacify Duryodhana. So Arjuna has Agni Deva's chariot and the shattering of hearts. All these, as we read the Bhagavad Gita, it becomes so clear that victory belongs to the Dharma. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Now in verses 1.21 to 23, let's see what are the words which we come across. Arjuna Uvacha Senayorubhayor Madhye Ratham Sthapayamechyuta Yavadeta Niriksheham Yodha Kamanavasthitan Kairmaya Saha Yodhavyam Asmin Rana Samudyame. So in this verse, we are coming across the word Achyuta. So like I told you, I wanted to discuss Achyuta here. Arjuna is referring to Krishna over here as Achyuta, which means infallible one. Never, Achyuta, why is he infallible? Because one reason is he never fails in his affection for his devotees. So that's why, once you become a devotee, you're like a little child. Once you take the mood of a little child, a helpless child, completely surrendered to Krishna, then Krishna will completely take care of your every need and protection. You have to, it's like a free fall. You just free fall, Krishna is there. He is the infallible one. He will never fail his devotee. You just need to love him and become his devotee. So Achyuta also here means, it also means that although Krishna is now taken the position of Arjuna's charioteer, which is actually, it's a job, the charioteer is like a job of a Shudra. So he's taken the job of a charioteer. Still, he remains the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It doesn't matter whatever he does. When he was the cowherd boy, he was like the Vaishyas. He was like a business class, like the cowherds. And even then, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now he's doing the job of a driver. Still, he is Supreme Personality. He is infallible. He never falls. That is one of the points as to why he is Achyuta. Now, the word Achyuta, if we break it, Chuta means to fall. So we are all actually fallen conditioned souls. and all the living entities beginning from Brahma, Brahma Bhuvana Loka, from the world of Brahma, from Brahma, all the way to the most insignificant ant. Everyone is fallible. There are possibilities of fall. In fact, we are fallen conditioned souls. Why are we conditioned souls? That's because of this verse. You can look at this verse from Prema Vivarta 6.3, which says, Krishna bhulya jiva bhoga vancha kare pasate maya tare japatiya dhare. So Krishna bhulya. Why are we fallen ones? Why are we the fallen people? Why are we the conditioned souls? That's because we forgot Krishna. Jiva bhoga vancha kare. We have desired to enjoy. Bhoga means enjoy. Jiva, our souls, we have desired to enjoy. Although, we know that in the Gita, Krishna is clearly declared in the verse 5.29. Krishna clearly says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasa sarva loka maheshwara. So he has said that I am the supreme enjoyer. Please understand, you don't try to enjoy on your own. Actually, when he says that, sometimes, some people will feel, what is this? Why is he saying that? But actually, the truth is that it is only when we understand this truth that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and none of us are entitled to that being that supreme enjoyer. However, if we become surrendered and if we find the joy in being surrendered, the joy that the devotee experiences is even more than what Krishna experiences. That is the beauty of it. So we don't understand that when we do our true dharma, which is to be a part and parcel of the Lord, then we experience the true joy. That is when we start experiencing Ananda. So Pashite Maya Tare Japatiya Dhara. As soon as we start trying to enjoy, immediately Maya will grapple us and we will fall into the material world. That is Chuta. That's why we are all in the fallen state. Another analogy, which Srila Prabhupada gives when explaining this particular verse 21, he is explaining this in one of his lectures. He says that just like a man under a police custody, suppose a man is caught by the policeman, he is understood to be a criminal. That is why the police has caught him. Similarly, just because we are in this material world, it is understood that we are the fallen souls. Right? And we have fallen from what? We have fallen from being good citizens of the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, everybody knows their position and everybody is doing their different jobs, which is in terms of whatever is allotted to them in the spiritual world. They're doing it completely in the service of the Lord. There's another beautiful example that, although we know we are parts and parcels of Krishna, Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, he tells us, Mame Vamsha Jiva Bhuta. My own Amsh, Mame Vamsho Jiva Bhuta, all the living entities actually part and parcel of the Lord himself. So we are all having actually the same quality as Krishna. In quality, we are absolutely the same. But because we are fallen and we are conditioned and we are covered by lust, different degrees of lust, different people are in. That is the reason why we are unable to understand our true self right now and we have forgotten our position. So, there's another nice example where Srila Prabhupada has explained in one of the lectures about the human body. If you consider a body, if the finger is useful when it is a part of the hand, it is doing its job. But if the finger starts saying, I want to enjoy separately, then you cut the finger and you throw it. A finger which is apart from the body is just there, a decaying, rotten, bleeding piece of flesh, which is of no value. And that is, one of the analogies that Srila Prabhupada gives. So anyone, so who is a Chuta? Coming back to the word Achyuta, who is a Chuta? A Chuta, a fallen person, is one who is not attached with the service of the Supreme Lord. So when we become detached from the service of Krishna, this is actually unnatural. We are artificially trying to enjoy. What we are trying to do is we are artificially trying to enjoy, on our own. So when we do that, the joy is temporary. So living entities are actually, part of Prakriti. Prakriti is basically all of women. So Para and Apara, both are part of Prakriti. And both of them are all controlled by the Purusha, which is Krishna himself. So here, when Arjuna has used the word Achyuta here, when he is trying to tell Krishna to take take me to the center of the battlefield, he says, Senayor Ubayor Madhye, please take me to the center. Sapaya me Achyuta. So he's asking Achyuta to please take him. So when he's saying the word Achyuta there, oh, infallible one, we can be clear that Arjuna knows very clearly about his subordinate position compared to Krishna. So here he's actually indirectly begging. No? He's actually telling, my dear Krishna, oh Achyuta, you are the Achyuta, you are the infallible one. Though I actually cannot order you. Just because, you have wanted to be my charioteer, and that is why I'm ordering you. And, he also is also hinting, indirectly that, and you're somebody who's infallible. So you will not even fall from your promise. So here we can see that Arjuna's position, when he does all this, right, telling Krishna to take him to the center, instead of just, he already picked up his bow in his hand, instead of starting the battle, the conches are blown. Why is he doing this? It's because actually Arjuna does not want to fight. He has actually no desire to fight. Why is that? It's because Arjuna is a Vaishnava, right? Whereas Krishna, he has tried everything, and his only purpose, in fact, to come on the earth. Krishna has only two purposes. One is Paritranaya Sadhunam, and the next one is Vinashaya Dushkritam. So one is he's coming here Paritranaya Sadhunam, to protect the sadhu. So what is sadhu? Srila Prabhupada says that sadhu is a devotee, not somebody who's simply wearing a saffron robe. He is not a devotee. One who tolerates all kinds of miserable conditions. Such a person is a devotee. So examples are like Prahlad Maharaj, right? Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee. He is undisturbed. His own father is there right in front of him, trying to kill him in every possible way. But he's absolutely undisturbed, completely surrendered, and he knows he's protected. Similarly, Jesus Christ. Srila Prabhupada gives in his lecture the example of Jesus Christ also. He says that when he was being crucified, his words were, "Oh Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing." So, you can see that compassion. This is the emotion of a Vaishnava. And these people I mentioned are the Vaishnavas. Material people are not like that. They will get disturbed. And when they get disturbed, they will not be able to do the work. Whereas a sadhu is undisturbed, whatever the circumstance. And he has the quality of Krishna, which is Suhridam Sarva Bhutana. He's a friend to everyone. So similarly, Arjuna over here, we can see he's actually feeling that emotion of, that he's feeling that compassion. He's feeling costless mercy for the, he's feeling, he's feeling kind of, it's not spiritual feeling. He's actually here feeling a little bit, he's falling down to the material level where he's considering everybody as my relative, my friends. So he's actually a great devotee, but he's doing this because of Krishna's arrangement. Here, he's actually getting ready to set the scene for Krishna to give us the Bhagavad Gita. So in verse 22, we come across Lord Krishna. Out of his love, he accepted the position of charioteer. Lord Krishna takes pleasure in serving his unalloyed pure devotee. So when Arjuna takes that right, come on, can you drive me to the middle? Krishna actually likes that. He enjoys that, that kind of camaraderie. He likes when the devotee is like that. In any position, Krishna's supremacy is never challenged, and that is why he is Achyuta. And Arjuna, being a pure devotee, like I just explained, has no desire to fight. He wanted to see how much his friends and relatives are bent upon demanding an unwanted war. And he wanted to see who are the people who want to please the evil-minded Duryodhana, and he wanted to estimate their strength. It was not for a peace proposal. Here we can see in verse 23, we have an analogy. So Srila Prabhupada gives an analogy that anyway, all those people on the opposite side, right? Every one of them, birds of the same flocks fly together. So Duryodhana, he is in 1.23, we have a reference. Sorry, I'm jumping a little bit. It says, Yotsya manana viksheham ya etetra samagataha dhardra rashtrasya durbuddhe. So here it is mentioned dhardra rashtrasya durbuddhe. That means Dhritarashtra's son, Dhritarashtra means Dhritarashtra's sons, Durbuddhe. So Durbuddhe means somebody who is mischievous, who is evil-minded. This is mentioned there in the slide also, evil-minded. And he, one who is wanting to usurp the property of somebody else is definitely evil-minded. He is a Durbuddhi. And so the Vedic instructions clearly say that we must always accept whatever is due to us. It was very clear in those times that Dhritarashtra, being blind, was not entitled for that kingdom. And he was only temporarily taking care, and therefore automatically his sons, according to the rules of the law of those days, The sons were not entitled for it, but still they were trying to take something. Whereas a devotee, obviously Duryodhana is far from a devotee. Arjuna is a devotee, and he believes in accepting what is given. So it is said that one must be satisfied with the spouse you get, that is your wife or your husband, with the wealth that you have, or the property, or whatever the material things you have, and with the food you get. These are the things you should be satisfied with. What you should not be satisfied is how much of devotional service I'm doing, how much of chanting I'm doing. These things which are transcendental desires, there you should not be satisfied. You should always be wanting to do more and more of that. So Durbuddhi over here, in reference to Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana, is like, Srila Prabhupada compares him to a rascal and an ass, and he goes on to describe in this lecture, which I have referred to, about how the real business of all of us is to occupy our senses in Krishna's service. But people who are mudhas, right, they are only busy trying to please their own senses. So Krishna consciousness, this whole movement which we are now, getting in ourselves involved in, is basically a movement which helps to take us back to our home, which is take us back to Godhead. And actually going back to Godhead is not very difficult if you go to see the verse 4.9, where it says, Janma karma cha me divyam, person who knows Krishna's birth and his different leelas, if you just know that this Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, you are liberated. That's what he says in 4.9. But later on in the verse 7.3, he also says, Anushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. So even though so many people will try to understand Krishna, only very few can really understand. And the real joy comes when you understand that. For example, the Gopa boys, they truly understood. And that is why they were in complete bliss. And it has been mentioned by Srila Prabhupada that these Gopas, they had done pious activities for millions and trillions of years. And after that, they get this blessing of having such a close and intimate relationship, of being a friend, and all the time thinking and being in the presence of Krishna and playing with him. So all this is, is about Krishna, about people who are in Krishna consciousness. So why is it that, so why is it that we should entertain material desires? So we should all also similarly try to increase our spiritual desires. We should be dissatisfied only in the field of spirituality. And when it comes to material desires, we have Kunti Mata's prayers in verse 1.8.26, which says, Janmeshwarya Shruti Shribhir, Janmeshwarya Shruti Shribhir, Redhamana Madapuman, Naivar Hatya Bhidatum Vai Twamakinchana Gocharam. So it says that somebody who has a lot of education, is very beautiful, very learned, or these material things they have, Krishna doesn't come easily to them. Krishna comes easily to one who is akinchanam, who doesn't have anything. So maybe the person is very rich, but if he is totally detached, and if his attachment is totally with Krishna, then Krishna comes easily. Krishna consciousness comes to a person who has no material desires at all. So that is the whole point which I wanted to talk about. Achyuta, I think it's beautiful. The rest of it, the verse, chapter 1, let's just go through it. I hope, this Achyuta definitions has been interesting for you. So in verse 22, we come across Lord Krishna out of love and costless mercy. Actually, yeah, we finished this actually. We finished this slide, sorry. So we've also discussed the analogy. So now we will move on to verse 24 to 27. So Lord Krishna, when Arjuna has given this instruction to Krishna, he is referred to as Gudakesha over here. Arjuna is one who has conquered Gudakesha. The word Gudakesha for Arjuna means one who has conquered sleep. Arjuna is always thinking of Krishna, always, even when he's sleeping, every 24/7, he is thinking of Krishna. That is why he is called Gudakesha. Also, he can, he's adept at his skill of archery, whether it is day or night. And most importantly, he's actually not ignorant. He is even at when it is night, where night is compared to ignorance, he is in knowledge. So Lord Krishna, Rishikesha, can understand the heart of Arjuna. So in verse 25, we say, Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyetan Samavetan Guru Niti. So in verse 25, what do we see? We see that Lord Krishna, Rishikesha, is able to understand the heart of Krishna. Partha is referred to as Partha because he's son of Pritha. And Lord Krishna here, quite jokingly, he's saying that, come on, let's come and see. You want to see? So just behold, see with attention. Who is in the opposite side. And what does Arjuna see in verse 26? We can see Tatra Pashyat Sitan Partha Pitrinath Pitamahan Pitrinath Pitamahan Acharyan Matulan Bhratrin Putran Pautran Sakim Satha. So then we have in 26 the whole list of all the different people that who Arjuna sees. So you can see that center, that picture represents clearly that he has kind of fallen in the material platform for a little bit for our sake, so that the Bhagavad Gita comes to us. He is, looking at everybody as my relatives, my grandfather, my well-wishers. He's like, that guru of mine who has taught me archery, who has made me everything I am today. Can I myself use the same skills to kill him? So these are the thoughts which are coming in his mind. And his own brothers like Duryodhana, his maternal uncle Shalya and Shakuni, his teachers Dronacharya, Kripacharya, and those who are his sons, like, the Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama. These are the people he sees. And seeing all of them, he becomes overwhelmed with compassion. So here, we can see in this slide the comparison of Daya and Kripa. So he's feeling Kripa, which is compassion, which is basically differences when you feel it for some specific people. So that's a technical difference of language. Now we are moving on to section B, and I think I have about 20 minutes. So in this section B, we come across all the different questions that Arjuna has, which Krishna will answer in the chapter 2, and a bit of 3, he will answer all of Arjuna's doubts very clearly and beautifully. So from 28 to 46, Arjuna's mind is reeling, thinking about how this battle will finish his whole family, so many families, traditions, and he sees it as a sin. He starts thinking that maybe it's a sin to kill all the family, and feeling it better to be killed rather than being killed, rather than killing. And so Arjuna, thinking about all this, his mind is overwhelmed. He just puts his bow aside him and he sits down. But this is what we will quickly look through from verse 1.28 all the way to 28 and 29. So here we can see all the symptoms in verse 1.28 and 29. We can see Arjuna describing his symptoms. He says, Drishtve swajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupasthitam sidanti mama gatrani mukhamcha parishishyati. My mouth is drying up. Veputhascha sharire me romaharshascha jayate gandivam samsrate hastat tvakachve chaiva paridahyate. So he's saying the Gandiva is slipping from my fingers. So what are the different symptoms? These are sometimes the same symptoms that we feel when we know we need to do something and we can't. The body starts trembling. The hair is standing on end. And these could happen actually in 2 situations. It can also happen to someone in spiritual ecstasy, where we have, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's that Shishtashtakam, we have one verse, right, which talks about how Rudantam Muhurnetra Yuk. No, that is Damodarashtakam. There's one verse which talks about, the tears coming and all that. So this tears coming and all these kind of emotions can also come in spiritual ecstasy. And it also happens when you're in a great fear or in material condition. So here we can see Arjuna's symptom is due to his fear of loss of all these material relationships. And his bow is slipping, his heart is burning, and his skin is burning. All these are actually due to his material conception of life. For a bit of time, he is in material conception. And why is this? This is all due to Krishna's will. Arjuna's symptom of forgetting himself as being the devotee of the Lord is basically this weakness of mind which has come upon him is all Krishna's will. And it is actually because of his excessive material attachments. He doesn't want to, wants to fight and kill his own master and everybody. Fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium is also the reason for his bewilderment. And again, it is all like the first word you can see in the beginning, it's all Krishna's will. And then we can also see in verse 1.30, we can see the reference of, it says, Gandivam, It says, Nacha Shaknomya Vasthatum Brahmativa cha me manaha. So we can see that here every living entity generally is interested in himself and his own welfare, and that is why he suffers. That's how we described a little earlier also. And the real interest of the jiva is to serve Krishna. So this is one, and Krishna is referred to as Keshava in this, meaning killer of the demon of Keshi. And so he is expected to remove all Arjuna's doubts similarly. So wherever Keshava is used, Arjuna is referring to the fact that he expects Krishna to, just as he killed the Keshi demon, similarly he should be killing the demons of his doubts. His doubts are compared to the Keshi demon. And so these are the different symptoms which we all just now described. The limbs quivering, mouth drying up, whole body trembling, hair is standing on end, hand is, the Gandiva is slipping. And these are all the different feelings he said, the feelings of, are the causes of his feeling so distressed. In verse 31, we can see Arjuna is saying that he's comparing, he's in verse 1.31, he's talking about happiness. I'm not going to be happy. So what he's trying to say is that if I'm going to be fighting, if I won't get joy, even if I'm going to get the, even if I win, I'm not going to be happy. And even if I lose, that's going to be a matter of despair for me. So that's what he's talking in verse point 31 till 35. He will be talking about enjoyment. He says, I can't enjoy the kingdom at the cost of killing my relations. So here we have a comparison of the Kshatriyas dying in the battlefield under Krishna's orders and the renounced order life which is devoted to Krishna. Both are actually eligible to enter the sun planet. And Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, if he will, he forgets the moral codes, he's attracted to the bodily relationship and he's hoping to be happy. That is similar to the living entity. So the analogy here is, I'm not hungry and I'm not going to cook. That's an analogy given over here by Srila Prabhupada. And when one is attracted to bodily relationships, hoping to be happy, he, killing relatives, he thinks is not going to give happiness in life and not willing to fight also. Example, someone who is not hungry, is not ready to cook. So, okay, I'm not hungry, so I'm not going to cook. So he's not willing to fight. And he decides to lead a secluded life in the forest. So this is all, this entire verse is talking about Arjuna, who is, basically contemplating about what will give him happiness and what will not give him happiness, all the way till verse 35, till verse 13, from 31 to 35, it's the same point. So Govinda or Krishna is actually the object of all pleasures for both cows and the senses. So Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy his senses. Govinda is not, that's why he's referring to Krishna as Govinda in this verse. In verse 32, Arjuna is referring to Krishna as Govinda, trying to remind him that, oh Krishna, you are Govinda, right? You are meant to satisfy our senses. So, my senses are not going to be satisfied if I'm going to, please understand, my senses will not be satisfied if I'm going to fight. So he's trying to, kind of indirectly tell him that, understand what is it that, you as a person satisfy senses, so you should satisfy my senses. So he is turning the table around. And here we can see the reference of Madhusudana. He calls Krishna Madhusudana because Krishna has killed the demon Madhu. So why is he calling Krishna Madhusudana at this point? Actually, in the whole Bhagavad Gita is very interesting to look at the words that they call each other. It's everywhere there's a meaning. Why are they calling that particular word at that point of time? So Arjuna is calling him Madhusudana here because Arjuna is expecting that Krishna will kill his doubts like demons. Also, Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and Krishna is expecting Arjuna to kill his relatives and not demons. So he's trying to say, you are expecting me to kill all these, like my Guru and Bhishma and all these people, whereas you are the person who killed the demon. So that's also, he's hinting in also to that. So in this flow chart, we can see that Krishna is the order supplier. He is trying to satisfy his own senses. Living entity is trying to supply his own senses, and Krishna is the one who supplies the orders. And the living entity, when he satisfies Krishna's senses, by Lord's will, all his desires will be satisfied. This is what we fail to understand. Instead of running after satisfying our senses, if we satisfy Krishna's senses, all our senses will also automatically be satisfied. Lord will satisfy our senses to the extent that they deserve, not how much we desire. So when we desire something, we will get only what we deserve, or rather what we need. So, in today's class, when I was discussing with children, I was telling them that when Krishna doesn't give you something, it's because he loves you. How can you say that he loves you? Because you are not this material body. You are the soul. And he loves that, he loves you, the soul that you are. And he wants to take you back to his, to our home. He wants to take us back to him. And that is why when the troubles come, people who are great spiritual people, they will always accept it with complete joy because they know Krishna has given it to them. Right? So even they won't be angry with the people who are bringing him the distress because they know that these people are only the postman. It's the postman. The letter is the original, whatever, experiences are given to us, are given to us by Krishna. So Arjuna's material calculation is that he's unable to share his opinions with relatives because they will no longer be there. And so I don't want to fight, even in exchange for the 3 worlds. And a spiritual understanding is Krishna is a devotee ready. The devotee is ready to accept any opulence and he does not complain. Otherwise, if Krishna does not desire. So Arjuna, being a devotee, very kind-hearted, he wants to forgive his relatives. Krishna, he will not forgive somebody who will do something to his devotees. Arjuna, whereas, Arjuna is somebody, is a Vaishnava, he is ready to forgive everyone. That is a big contrast between Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna is willing to forgive whatever the biggest crimes. Actually, the Duryodhana has done all the 6 major, crimes for which you can kill a person. He has done all 6 of them. Whereas, and he's still ready to forgive. But Krishna, that's why you should be very afraid of doing any harm to a devotee. If you do harm to devotee, Krishna will not forgive. He will not tolerate. Krishna, the Lord tolerates mischief on himself, but he will not tolerate a mischief upon devotees. So Lord will be determined to punish such people who will disturb his devotees. I just spoke about these 6 kinds of aggressors. So Duryodhana is, has done every single one of them. He has given poison to Bhima. He has set fire to the house. He has actually made them be in the house of Lac and set fire to it. He has attacked them with deadly weapons. He has plundered their whole land. He has occupied their land. He has kidnapped another's wife. He has actually tried to derobe the wife of the Pandavas. And so he definitely deserves punishment. There is no sinful reaction. So what Arjuna says about sinful reaction doesn't make sense. So Kauravas have done all 6 kinds of aggressions on the Pandavas, and hence killing them is not at all a sinful reaction. So Arjuna is calling Krishna Madhava because he's trying to tell Krishna that Krishna should not engage Arjuna in something that would bring misfortune. Every word is having such a lot of meaning. Krishna is, however, somebody who will never bring misfortune to anyone. And he's saying, why are you making me do something that is going to bring about misfortune? So that is what those verses are saying. And next we have from verses 37 to 39, where Arjuna is talking about destruction of the family. So he's talking about the family traditions being lost. And he's seeing that due to greed, the opposite party is ready to fight and kill. But he understands that the result of war is going to be destruction of the family. And he sees no benefit in that. He feels that, a Kshatriya agreed, should never refuse to an invitation for battle or for war. But at the same time, Arjuna sees the other party is blind of the effect of this challenge, of what is going to happen. Such a big, massive loss. So many men are going to be killed and the whole tradition is going to be lost. And he's, really suddenly thinking about all the evil consequences. There's going to be, what he says is that there's going to be destruction of dynasty, family tradition will be vanquished, families will start getting involved in irreligion, the Varnashma system will be broken, the elder members of the family who are responsible for purifying the processes in family from birth to death, all these very systematic things used to be done, all that will stop. And so the people who are the ancestors, they will not be able to get the, these traditions which are continued, they will not get the relief. Young members will become irreligious, and so there will be loss of chance for spiritual salvation. So in 37, 38 and 39, Arjuna is giving the explanation about destruction of family. In fact, up to 43, he gives the explanation of destruction of family. So these are the 16 samskaras which according to Manusmriti, which are to be followed. Before the conception itself, there is a ceremony called Garbhadhanam. In the 3rd month of pregnancy, there is Pumsavanam. Then I might be pronouncing these wrong actually. You can correct me if I'm going wrong. For protection of the mother before childbirth, there is a tradition or a celebration called Mantam. And then for the intellectual development of a child, they do something called Jata Karmam. And followed by there is Nama Karanam, which is a name giving ceremony, Nishkramanam, which is taking the child first time out of the house, Annaprashanam, some of them we still do, some of them we don't do, first time feeding of the child with solid food. Then there is Chuda Karanam, first time cutting of the hair, Karna Vedam, piercing of the ear, Vidya Rambham, the child is taught to write for the first. Even now in Mukambika and all, if you go, this Vidya Rambham is done. Guruvayur also, we have all these, things I have seen in these temples. Upanayanam, where the wearing of the sacred thread takes place. Then Praishartham, before and after each year of study. Keshantam, boys have their first shave. Ritu Shuddhi is the first menstrual cycle. Samavartanam is the end of the student life, followed by Vivaham, which is the ceremony of marriage. And each one of this is given in the Manusmriti. Antyeshti is Antim Sanskara, last rite. So Arjuna is worried about all this. He says that so many important samskaras are there. Total 40 are there. These are the 16 major ones. And these samskaras are a purificatory process. We are come into this human birth. And these are all the important traditions which, if they are not done, it's going to lead to some, it's going to lead to fall. It's going to be destruction of the family traditions. So that is the reason why he is saying that, I don't want to fight this war. He's trying to find every reason, not to fight. And he's talking about how this will lead to failure of the Varnashrama system, because the elder members of the family who are responsible for purifying process in family from birth to death. Death of these elders will stop the purification process, and the young members will become irreligious, and therefore they will lose the chance for spiritual salvation. And when there is irreligion becomes prominent in the family, women start becoming polluted because of unwanted progeny. There will be Varna Shankara, and that will be a hellish condition. Families, the family and those who destroy the family tradition, it's all going to lead to hell. And ancestors will not be delivered because of this. There will be risk of war and pestilence. Irresponsible leaders will be there, and they will cause destruction of the Sanatana Dharma. And because of irreligion in the family, women like children, they actually need protection. And so the good population who depend on faithfulness and a good population, they depend upon, actually the society quite a lot depends upon the faithfulness and chastity of women. And that when it's not there, there will be loss of, there will be a huge loss of the whole culture and tradition. Everything will be lost. And in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.41, we know that it's not applicable to someone. All these things are not applicable. All these different, traditions and stuff which we just explained, it's not applicable for one who has taken shelter of Krishna. Ancestors are not delivered. This particular point is not applicable, especially to someone who has taken shelter of the Lord, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Where is my cursor? Yeah. So once more, we are going to quickly look at the degradation of society. The superiors are killed. The destruction of eternal family tradition. The Vedic rituals will stop. Irreligion will dominate. Women become polluted. Unwanted progeny will happen. That's called Varna Sankara. And all kinds of community projects and everything will be devastated, and it will result in chaos. So this is what we are seeing here. And in the verse 44 to 46, at last, just on time, we are finishing this chapter. From verse 44 to 46, that is the last few verses, we are looking at the saintliness of Arjuna, right? Where he is actually fearing sin. He is fearful of the sinful reaction in these verses. He's talking about killing relatives just because of a desire to enjoy royal happiness is sinful. Then he says, better to die in the battlefield unarmed. I don't mind that. And this is again showing his soft-heartedness of being a devotee or a Vaishnava. And then he's overwhelmed with grief. In the verse 46, he is overwhelmed with grief. He casts aside his bow and arrow, and he sits down on his chariot. So he says, Arjuna says, Yadi mama pratikaram ashastram shastra panaya dharta rashtra rane hanyu tanme kshemataram bhavet. So I'm not going to be, even if they kill me unarmed, I accept that. And Sanjaya will describe the last verse. He says, Evam upvarjunah sankhe Rathopastha upavishat. He sits down on his ratha. Visrajya sasharam chapam shokasam vigna manasaha. Shoka, with shoka, his mind is full. And then he just sits down, casting his bow aside. So with that, we come to the end of chapter 1. Hare Krishna, everybody. Would anybody like to share something? Is there more slides? Yeah. I think this is a summary, I guess. Saintly qualities. So like I told you, these are the saintly qualities. This is soft-heartedness. He does not want to kill even in exchange for the 3 worlds. He's ready to forgive any aggressors, though there is no reaction in killing them because they have done all 6 of the wrong things. He considers evil consequences even at the risk of refusing obligation to fight as a Kshatriya. He's conscious of obligations to protect family traditions. He does not think I am transcendental and I have no obligations. Arjuna, being saintly, is conscious of moral principles. He is ready to be killed unarmed, but still he is ready not to retaliate. The custom, according to Kshatriya, is fighting. Unarmed and unwilling, the foe should not be attacked. These symptoms are all showing his soft-heartedness. Conclusion of this is that, up to 1.46, such a kind and soft-hearted person of Arjuna is fit to receive transcendental knowledge and the foundation for Krishna to give the spiritual education which begins with the understanding that we are not this body and that we are spirit soul. Now the stage is set for us to understand the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So there are still some more slides. So that is the end of Bhagavad Gita chapter 1. Hare Krishna, everybody. Does anybody have anything to share? Has everybody marked your attendance? Yes, the slides will be shared in the group, Mataji. I think so. I'll just check and let you know. The attendance post has been shared by Neil Prabhu several times. I hope everyone has posted the attendance because in level 2, we need to have attendance. Hare Krishna, everyone. Anybody would like to share something? Some reflections, any point that you particularly liked. Sometimes some of you can please turn on your videos. I would also like to see you. This is level 2, so we are a smaller community and so, we can share a little more. Yes, Vijay Kumar Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, कैसे हो?
ठीक हूँ, आप कैसे हैं?
अच्छा हो माता जी, मैं ऑफिस में हूँ।
अच्छा, आपने सुना क्लास पूरा, आप सुन पाए?
नहीं, मैं अभी ज्वाइन किया एक्चुअली, आई एम स्टिल इन ऑफिस।
ओके। अच्छा, रिकॉर्डिंग मैं पोस्ट करूंगी, so you can see the recording.
प्लीज, थैंक यू माता जी।
Today you didn't mark attendance, Venkataramana Prabhu. It's there in the chat. You can just click on the link and put your attendance, Prabhu. Okay, so I'll end the class. Hare Krishna, Mamta Mataji.
Yes, this is level 3 class 2 or only level 2?
This is level 2, Mataji.
And how about level 3? Is there any class for level 3?
Yes, level 3 links will also be shared in all the groups. You
Well,
are level 2, is it?
Yeah, I have done only level 2. I'm still, I started again. So, but I want to do level 3. So could you send me the link because I haven't received any link.
Okay, Manoj. I'll ask the admin to send it.
Okay, thank you. Otherwise, I will keep on listening to you because till I get to level 3 because I would really want to do level 3. So, but
thank you, everybody. Vansha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Please join next Thursday.